Matt Reeves says the villain of the Batman Part 2 has, quote, never really been done in a movie before, end quote. He also says this movie will take Batman's character in an unexpected direction. The things that this film does for this character, for Batman and Bruce, I think it has never been done before in this way, end quote. So, Ricky, let's just start here. Who do you think the villain is for the Batman Part 2?
I feel like we've asked this question at least 3 times on the checkup in the past 2 years, ever since the sequel was greenlit, right? And this quote or these quotes from Reeves is pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Glaring, it's
Eye-opening?
guilty, eye-opening, and I think it's pointing to a couple things here. There's obviously one man, one person it points to, but I think there's a few that people are forgetting about. But let's go through the list of who it's not been.
Yeah,
right?
I did this too.
All right, yeah. So it's people that it's someone that's never been on the big screen before, right? So who does that exclude? Your Penguin, Riddler, Joker, Poison Ivy, Bane, Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul and the Al Ghuls, Catwoman, Scarecrow, and Two-Face. Did I miss any?
I think you nailed it. That was my list. You even went a little above and beyond, in my opinion.
Above and beyond? How so? That's just all of them, right?
Yeah, I know, but like, I was kind of taken aback because I listened to the interview and I listened to his tone when he said it. I didn't know if he meant like they haven't been in a Batman live action movie, right? That's kind of what I took it for. And the way he hesitated and his tone of it, he was a little bit like, you could technically say they have appeared. And that made me hint at who potentially he's referring to. And it could be 2 different people I'm thinking of, Ricky folks, but I think you nailed it. And especially when they're talking about diving deeper into like the corruption of Gotham City, diving deeper into the character of Bruce Wayne, especially because we had pretty much Batman, right, of the Batman Bruce Wayne dynamic. We had Batman for pretty much 80% of the time. I think we're kind of down to 2 different villains here. I think it's kind of a process of elimination type of thing.
Yeah, and I think let's go with the obvious to start. And again, it's someone that has never been on the big screen. And you mentioned it though. The hesitation kind of leans like this villain was in a Batman movie, just not on the big screen, or at least in some capacity. That leads towards Hush, right? That's what this quote and the hesitation is kind of telling us here. And again, Hush, awesome comic, great animated movie. It's a villain that actually knows who Batman is, right? Bruce. That goes along with his quote here saying it's diving deeper into Bruce's past here. Unlike the Riddler, which was only teased in the first one, this is actually going deep into that. I think that connects really well with a potential back-to-back, a sequel. And this could be the unexpected direction Reeves refers to. Now, I'll pause there because I have another theory. Your thoughts on Hush?
I think it's Hush. And this is a character that was introduced in the comic run Batman Hush in 2003. This is a character that is a villain that was, his background is he was the childhood best friend of Bruce Wayne, Thomas Elliot, and he devises this plan as a kid to murder his parents. And he basically pulls out the brakes from their car. Dad passes away. Mom survives. Thomas Wayne saves the mother. And then he basically wants to get revenge. And he finds out who Batman is. He finds out it's Bruce Wayne. He's working with the Riddler, which I think is like a key part of this because we had Paul Dano in the first movie. And you have that moment where Joker and Batman are going at it, where Joker's kind of being interrogated by the Batman, and you have Paul Dano going crazy, separated by that transparent glass. And he has that moment where you think that he knows Batman as Bruce Wayne, where he's like, Bruce Wayne, has got away. So it'd be really cool if he was kind of working with a Hush, like in the comic books, against a Batman Bruce Wayne. But you talk about diving deeper into the Bruce Wayne character, diving into the past of Bruce Wayne. Let's go to his childhood best friend. Let's get more intimate with the Bruce Wayne character. So that was my big thought, in terms of who the villain could be. And in terms of, I guess, another person, I don't know if you want to go to the secondary person. You have more thoughts on Hush. But I think Hush is someone that is going more into the Bruce Wayne of it all, has connections to the Riddler, is someone I think that was glaring and practical type of villain, as opposed to the fantastical that you might get in something like the DCU and the Brave and the Bold.
Right, and it still kind of tackles like the detective murder story that is akin to the first one that Matt Reeves has indicated that this one will be like, right? So I think that's also a key element to like to just consider here. So it just kind of tackles or it checks all the boxes, I would say. So Hush is the firm leader. If I had to put odds on it, I would put minus 250.
It's the favorite by
But, like,
by
heavy, 250, like, not like 250 is pretty heavy, you know, for a cast of characters or a cast of villains for a Batman movie, minus 250 is pretty heavy.
minus 250 is pretty heavy. It's going to be another character potentially that's like looks like there's tape on their face or like some type of mask that's very similar to the Riddler. And it's with this like Zodiac type of Riddler, I wonder what the look of Hush is going to be if they're going to try and differentiate a little bit so it's not so similar to what you saw in the Batman. But also, Matt Reeves has talked about going down into the deep, dark corruption that was started in the Batman, revealed in the Batman, basically exposed by Paul Dano's Riddler, and he wants to go deeper in this movie, which also indicates that a second villain that came to mind, one that has to do with deep-rooted corruption in Gotham City, depicted in the comics. We talk about Hush, a 2003 comic book run for Batman, another recent comic book run, 21st century for Batman, Court of Owls. That has to be the second thing that you thought of, Ricky Flex, as a villain in this movie.
Court of Owls for sure, and we've already seen the connections. We've seen the hints at the Court of Owls previously, whether it was in the Penguin and the curtains and just some of the inclinations with the corruption of Gotham and whatnot, deeper into the Waynes, deeper into just high society in Gotham. This is something where, yes, Court of Owls for sure, I think is on the table. It's just who's like going to be like another villain to kind of go along with the Court of Owls, I think is a big part of it. Because like you remember in the first one, you have the Penguin and the Joker in the first one, but they're not and the Joker deleted scene, but they're not actually the villains. They're supporting, like very minor supporting characters. So it'll be interesting to see if they do the same thing here.
I think what they should do is have the Court of Owls is such a huge villain, and it dives so deep into the corruption of Gotham City that I think it's big enough for the third movie. And what they should do is just plant seeds of the Court of Owls in the Batman Part 2. And you can have a deeper dive into the world of, Bruce Wayne. Just you had Batman in the first movie, you have Bruce Wayne in this movie, and then you could have like the Court of Owls kind of like challenging both of them in a way that Bruce Wayne never imagined. I think that would be a big enough villain, and it would go with the theme of corruption here. So the corruption aspect is what makes me think we're going to get the Court of Owls, And I even think of the Penguin, like were they planting a seed with like those curtains that look like owls inside of the courtroom, I want stuff like that in the second movie. I wouldn't even put it past Matt Reeves to kind of make a twist on the Thomas Elliot character and have him with a connection to the Court of Owls. Almost like a hybrid type of villain where it's like, okay, this person has a past in Bruce Wayne's life, but also is connected to the corruption history of Gotham City. He's a member of the Court of Owls, potentially. I think that would be smart.
And the Hush storyline where it's like he's like what you were talking about with the Thomas Wayne saving element and whatnot. That's kind of similar to the first one and Carmen Falcone, right? So,
and they had the Hush Easter egg in the first movie.
They did, and that's where that's why Hush is the heavy favorite. Court of Owls plus 300. Plus 300, I think is fair. And then I don't think this is it, but I just want to keep this in the back of our minds for either this movie or the third one. The Long Halloween.
Okay.
The problem with this is that it's not Bruce enough. You have the Harvey Dent connection here that does help with that, but it's not as deep as a Court of Owls. It's not as deep as a Hush with the Bruce connection, but it's still something. And again, this is just one little quote from Matt Reeves. One little quote.
And we're just going crazy.
And we are making some serious assumptions here.
We are running wild.
So let's just make a couple more and kind of just bend these quotes a little bit to our will. So, Long Halloween, right? This is another less fantastical, Um, again, corruption, uh,
Crime,
for Gotham.
noir, thriller,
Yeah, noir, crime thriller, mystery,
detective
detective,
story.
the ultimate detective story in superhero comics. This
Yeah.
is the go. And I feel like we are due for this on the big screen. Matt Reeves again saying, "We've never seen this villain on the big screen." Who is that? Holiday. Holiday never been on the big screen. You could do a little twist here with Holiday and saying, "Oh, we've never really seen a villain like this. Is it really a villain?" And then like you have Calendar Man, right? Calendar Man, dude, from the Batman, the first Batman here, Calendar Man would be perfect as a supporting character in this trilogy or in this Matt Reeves world. Calendar Man is too perfect. A freaking serial killer who commits murders around the holiday times and dates. That's
Mm,
perfect, right?
I'm out.
And it's just too perfect to have him as a supporting character here. And then Holiday, someone that can do a little twist, that get into the Gotham's, the inner workings around Gotham and the corruption and the crime and whatnot. It'd be perfect. It's never really been done before. So many supporting characters here. You would have to change the Falcone element here with Alberto and Sophia, obviously, but that's easy to do. I think this is not going to happen. I have this at plus 1,000, but it probably should be higher. But they could do it.
You already kind of had that element of the serial killer trying to unmask what's going on in Gotham. You have a little bit of like the crime bosses, right? With like Carmine Falcone, John Turturro. You have the background of Selena Kyle's mother. You got the background of the Waynes and the relationship with those crime families. And you have the serial killing. Like, I feel like you did enough of the Long Halloween that you can move off of it. In my opinion, like the Calendar Man is not like, or Holiday, either one. I'm just like, they're not worthy enough. It's not big enough for a sequel. And like, to me, like, you have to have Hush in here, but I think like other secondary villains, light went out again. The other secondary villains that you should really consider are much bigger. And I'm thinking about characters that could be kind of what the Penguin was in the first movie, or at least have origins of a villain that could be present in potentially the Batman Part 3. And it's something we've already talked about. Harvey Dent has to be in this movie. Like Harvey Dent, when you talk about the corruption of Gotham, when you talk about like what is the task force right now? Bella Real has her task force trying to uncover all this corruption, and it's way deeper than she can probably even imagine. And Bruce Wayne's Batman's gonna be trying to get on top of this thing along with Commissioner Gordon. I think you need to have someone that is dying to get underneath, right, these crime bosses and trying to figure out what's going on. I think you need someone that has a connection to Bruce Wayne, like a relationship of friendship with Bruce Wayne. You want to go deeper into the Bruce Wayne character, it only makes sense that you have a Harvey Dent that show up. I'm not saying Two-Face. I'm not saying you give him the whole origin in this movie. My recommendation is treat Two-Face just like you treated the Penguin in the Batman Part 1. He's in the movie. I give him more screen time than Colin Farrell in the Batman Part 1. Have the connection with Bruce. Have him kind of tag teaming with Commissioner Gordon and Batman, uncovering corruption. Give him a spin-off series. He sees Two-Face in the spin-off series. Boom, Batman Part 3.
So my only thing I would throw back at you here is I think Long Halloween is more different than Hush would be than to the first Batman with the unmasking and whatnot, because you don't know who Holiday is at all. You're trying to figure out who is Holiday, and it goes through the cast, the ultimate Batman villain crop of villains, and the Joker as well. It goes through these, and like again, I don't think it'll be a sequel in the sequel, but I think it should be in the third movie. But even for a sequel, it could work because you're going through the Penguin, you're going through Batman, Joker, you're going through the crime syndicates, you're trying to figure out who Holiday is. You're going to Calendar Man, right? Similar to how the Batman in the deleted scene went to the Joker for help. I think it would work. And I think it's different enough where you knew it was the Riddler the whole time. You just had to catch him. And then when you caught him, how do you stop him when he's even caught? So it's a little different. And I think that's also something that, again, when Matt Reeves is saying we've never kind of seen the way this has been depicted before, it's because we don't know who the villain is. That's never been happening in a Batman movie where you don't know who the villain is till the end. So that's where I was like, oh, that could be like a tease towards the Long Halloween a little bit.
Or you have appearances by villains, but they're not the big bad of the movie. They're not the one behind everything. That's like in the vein of the Long Halloween, if that's what you're talking about. Where you have appearances by iconic members of the Rogues Gallery, but they're not the one that you're eventually trying to catch. Like, this is also something I want to talk about. Characters that will be returning. We know the Penguin is returning for this movie. Matt Reeves has confirmed that. We're not getting Christine Milioti, who just came off an Emmy win for playing Sophia Falcone in the Penguin, but it's been rumored that we're not getting Catwoman in this movie, right? She's probably not returning. Zoe Kravitz probably isn't returning. It's up in the air what's going to happen with Joker, with Barry Keoghan. I think it was a kind of a mixed reaction in terms of his appearance in the movie, in terms of people liking the performance or liking even the inclusion in the movie. I was thinking about it. Like, Harvey Dent makes sense to me. The Penguin makes sense because of like the crime, the realistic crime family element to this, and he's the top of crime right now in Gotham at the time the Batman Part 2 begins. The Joker, I don't know where he fits in this story. If it's about a story about Bruce, if it's a story about corruption, deep-rooted corruption, and it's about like finding out like this mysterious connection potentially with Bruce or with the history of Gotham, the Joker's, I can't see where he fits if it's that type of story, you know? So I'm starting to think, does Matt Reeves regret including the Joker in the Batman, or is he going to find a way to kind of use him and fit him as a puzzle piece in these over these next two movies? Because they already teased him.
They already teased him, and they already teased him as like kind of like the Hannibal Lecter, right? So I wouldn't be surprised
In a
if they did
deleted scene.
in
you
a
know?
deleted scene, but they released it after the movie. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a scene like that in the movie, and then like a post credit, he escapes, and that's your third movie, right?
Mhm.
Because how do you have a Batman trilogy without Joker being a villain and not in one of the movies? You can't. You absolutely cannot. Like Batman and Joker, like peanut butter and jelly. Like you cannot have a Batman trilogy without Joker.
Yes, it's just the way they utilize him. They should lean into that Hannibal Lecter aspect, or is him just like getting thrown in as like a grenade in a situation where you're like, why the Joker doesn't fit in here? Maybe that's the best time to throw him in there.
The long
You know,
Halloween.
and like
That would lean into the long Halloween.
if you have him in bits and pieces in this movie, still like you see him forging that connection with the Riddler potentially a part of this with Hush. If we're right, if that Hush is the villain here and Paul Dano does in fact return, we're assuming a lot there, but I feel like you could just like when you least expect it, the Joker just pops up and fucks things up, just like the comic books. You know, I think that would be an interesting use of him, but I had a hard time saying, okay, we want to grow out this universe. Who are we going to throw into the movie if we subtract Zoe Kravitz, if we subtract, Sophia Falcone, who wasn't in the first one, but is firmly established in the Penguin as a part of this universe. I think Harvey Dent slides in, but I think you also focus on Bruce, so you have a love interest in this movie. If you have no Zoe Kravitz, I said watch out for that. I don't know if it's gonna be Vicky Vale or a different character. Just eyes out for a romantic interest for Bruce Wayne.
Eyes out.
Eyes out.